if you can't hear, hold up a paw. Consiglia. Consiglia was an Italian maid I had, and this is in her voice. Do you remember me, my black dress, the lacy shawl I wore in which to carry food for my old father, my gold tooth blinking in the light? How I told you that I kept the German consul's child for a year when the British and American troops entered Naples? Do you remember how I taught your smallest child Italian when you said, "Anne, wash your hands"? She did not understand until you said, "Anne, lave la mano." Do you remember how I comforted your Betsy when she was frightened by the neighbor's dog? Do you remember my cooking? I could make something out of nothing. Apple turnovers, fried pizza. That comes from having little to eat. Signora, you praised me and told me how wonderful I was. You were so excited by your visits to Rome. You said you had seen the Vatican, St. Peter's, and Castel Sant'Angelo. You always had to hurry home, as I never remained in your home after sunset. Do you remember how you tried so hard to speak Italian, and I to speak English? We laughed and cried together. You said in fun, "Consiglia, you're not really a communist, are you? Say no." "Si, signora." "Not no," I replied. "I miss you, signora. Your children must be grown. Everyone has gone." This is lost friend, a friend that we lost several years ago. Now that she is gone, I hear her voice, sweet and soft as southern molasses. I see her eyes, blue as cornflowers, and her small figure, thin as a slender reed. I see her determined, bent over the steering wheel, affected by her medication and smashing into a 7-Eleven. We take her to the dealership to buy another car. Our friend, a young 70, had breathing problems. We followed her to the emergency room many times, though she always recovered quickly. We listened to her cries when dark feelings overwhelmed her. We laughed with her over new jokes. She loved our cats and heard our cat stories. She told us tales about her aunt who made a sling for an injured mule and brought horses from Texas to the family farm. Last Tuesday, in the dark stillness of evening, we were called to the hospital. We went to bring her home. But she was gone, carried into heaven's realm. She has left us forever. We drove through flat fields of snowy cotton and tall pine trees to North Carolina for the graveside service. She was alone in the funeral home in an elegant casket covered with bright flowers. We placed her mother-of-pearl cross upon her breast. We felt lost and abandoned, but could not help laughing when we heard that she had left all her money, not to her relatives, but to the animal shelter. This is Study Hall, the school poem. Sisters white and winged hat keeping watch over sometimes serious, sometimes silly giggling girls. Girls who must attend and finish every scrap of work for a class tomorrow. Note passing, pinches, pokes, prods, harsh surveillance from the desk, where all is observed and taken in. Stark, bare, black branches rattle winter's song against cold windows, through which one sees the freezing world beyond. And this is the kitty that we lost. An iron gray dove is resting on the bench next to the grave upon which glow golden mums. No more will Nicholas's swift paw bring down the black and yellow butterfly. No more will Nicholas roam the grassy areas and lie in wait for a scolding Virginia shrew, or a careless mockingbird flying low to meow at him. No more will he stroll down the driveway to meet us when we return, welcoming us with twitching whiskers, bright eyes, and loud meows. I thought he would always be here, his soft gray fur and pristine white front, waiting to be stroked. Now he is gone, my tears flow. I know he is with St. Francis. This is internet prayers. Pleading, painful, joyful prayers race over the internet to San Xavier del Baca at White Dove of the Desert, place where the water comes out. The mission, 205 years old, is named for that happy, compassionate saint. No healing dirt or water is taken here, but printed messages are pinned to the soft blanket, covering long woven robes. His wooden hand extends in blessing. His warm smile and raven-painted eyes look down upon the faithful. A mass of followers contact him via the internet, but not I. My prayers are sent another way. This is the bishop's house. The bishop's house, a single room built of river stone, sits high upon a hillside covered with scented sagebrush and yellow desert flowers. The house faces east, where the rising sun is greeted by Navajos at the beginning of each day. Pinon logs burn in the fireplace. Aromatic smoke arises when Bishop is in residence. Behind the house, a quarter of a mile, lies the cemetery of the Diné, the Navajo, alive with white crosses and brittle bones of mustangs shot to be their master's mounts in the spirit world. In front of the bishop's house is the hospital, also built of river stones, white and shining in the desert sun. Bishop, tall, lean, with a gentle smile, visits twice a year. His son, a prisoner of the Japanese on Bataan, may not come home again. What pain the family suffers. Their prayers are sent every day for all prisoners everywhere. The bishop's house, so peaceful, is a refuge in which to pray and meditate. This is the Navajo Code Talkers. Dooley Shorty, Navajo, 88 years old, died last week. He trained Navajo Code Talkers for World War II. The Code Talkers used their language to confuse and frustrate the Japanese, who never deciphered it. Dooley, born in Cornfield, Arizona, wore a large black hat, silver conchos, a sky blue turquoise necklace, and taught silversmithing for 30 years. During the war, the young Navajo men radioed their words to describe military equipment. Taschizi, Navajo for swallow, meant torpedo plane. Jay Show, buzzard, was bomber. Datihi, hummingbird, meant fighter plane. Iwo Jima and other South Pacific battles were won with the Code Talkers' aid. Paul Edward So said, "I was afraid of nothing. I felt that if I was going to end my life in war, that was the way it should be." Thomas Begay, who was awarded 6 battle stars, said, "I believe in the traditional Navajo ways. I felt the Great Spirit was protecting me. My parents had ceremonies to keep me safe." Dana Key of the 4th Marine Division said, "The war was very sad. I saw dead Marines on the beach of Iwo Jima. We had to go through them." The proud and brave Navajo word warriors came out of the mesas and southwestern mountains to serve their country with love and pride, a country which once had broken treaties and tried to crush the Diné, the people. This is called Adventure, my adventure with the Anasazi. My bare feet climb the prickly rope ladder, backpack clinging to my shoulders, heart beating fast. Thin pricks of perspiration dot my forehead. I reach between the rope strands and touch rough mottled brown sandstone. Don't look down. The canyon floor, covered with desert flowers, lies far below. I crawl over the top. In front are crumbling, dusty Anasazi cliff dwellings, which shelter secrets of the past. A deep pit, a kiva with faintly painted walls, was a sacred place where elders ruled and discussed the laws of the tribe. I find a small, translucent skull surrounded by turkey bones, gray and black pottery shards, and bits of corn. The skull, perhaps exposed by desert scavengers, rests in my hands. I see a laughing, bronze-skinned child dressed in soft skins and plaited yucca sandals. running from her parents on the canyon floor. My descent is perilous. Feet feel hesitantly for the next step. At last, firm ground is reached. My journey is ended. I look up. The deep blue of the sky and the silence permeate my being. I breathe deeply and feel content. I have 3 more. This is called Desert Psalm. For the rugged southwestern mountains, dotted with conifers and alive with black bear and soft-eyed deer, give thanks. For desert people, the Navajo, Apache, the Pueblo, and Hispanic descendants of the conquistadors, give thanks. For white grain sands of the desert, dry arroyos with secret water holes, hairy tarantulas, skittering mice, busy road runners, and sharp-beaked hawks, give thanks. For saguaro cacti, home of small feathered owls, long-eared listening jackrabbits, red sandstone cliffs, ancient homes of the Anasazi, give thanks. For the high domed sky filled with silvery stars and planets, and for a peaceful, happy life, give thanks unto the Lord. This one is animal stories, a friend of ours who didn't like to hear about animals. No animal stories, Martha said. Don't tell me tales about those thinking, talking animals. Let them be themselves, the dogs, cats, horses, and monkeys. If that bear isn't cute and cunning, we don't want the story, said the editor of Reader's Digest. People want them to act human. But Martha said, snorting pig-like, don't tell me those animal stories. Squirrels scolding because you have taken their nuts. The Toby Trifle cat who stole the chocolate chip cookies and smiled. Just don't tell them to me. And this last one is a dreadful one of my husband. It's called The Test. To live in full your given span, be sure to eat all that you can. And as I think you know you should, try hard to eat all kinds of food. Be not content with cow and pig, raspberry jam, sweet corn and fig. Think instead of crocodile and things that others say are vile. For just as wisdom comes with time, so does a taste for things sublime. For fish and toad and spotted frog and creatures found beneath the log. For seaweeds long and slimy frond, for whiskered catfish in the pond. Though none agree what food is best, each palate has a final test. And so, dear friend, I hope you feel a sudden urge for roasted eel.